Hey, I'm Kobe, and welcome to my vlog. Vlog? Yeah, I guess that's fair to say vlog. Um, so I guess I'll start out with my purpose for doing this. I entered a new season in my life, a new phase, and just thinking about it, I realized it afforded me the opportunity to do something I always wanted to do, which is sort of chronicle my journey to get to where I'm ultimately going. And I'll get more into what that is in a little bit, but um, I just wanted to say from the outset, that's what it is, and to kind of give you a little bit of a background on who I am. Um, like I said, my name is Covey. It's a nickname that kind of stuck, and it just continues on. So that's what I'm going to use here. I have a bachelor's in ministry, a master's in ministry, master divinity, and I am currently in the process of getting a master's in Jewish studies, as well as a Ph.D. in early church studies and historical theology. Now, I just started on that, which is why I am starting on this journey and why I chose to begin these vlogs. Originally, I wasn't going to do vlogs. I wanted to actually keep a journal, but as I started keeping this journal, I noticed two things. Number one, it actually physically pained me to write for an extended period of time. I don't remember the last time I physically wrote something out. So having to go through and actually write a page or two of what happened, it hurt. It really hurt. And so I was like, I got to figure something else out. And number two, I think is more important. While I can get past the pain, I can't get past this. I want to show you something. Look at this. See if you can see that. This is my writing. I cannot read it. Um, if I can't read it, no one else is going to be able to read it. So I did a couple of days of that, a few days, and I realized I got to think of something better. What can I do? So the idea hit me. This is something that I had been wanting to do ever since my first master's. Not a lot of people do what I'm doing, and even less know what to expect when they get into it. It reminded me of my time many, many moons ago when I was going to join the military. About a month or so before I shipped out to boot camp or basic training, I started looking on the internet, right? And I started trying to find videos or articles or blogs or things of that nature, YouTube videos of what to expect when you join the military and go to basic training. And I was looking everywhere and I really couldn't find anything. There was no information. So I went in blind, and a lot of it was fun experiencing for the first time, but I still wish today that I would have had some insight then. And I figured the same could hold true for academics, right? Especially theological academics. I see a lot of people on YouTube nowadays who are um, putting their 2 cents in for a number of subjects. And that's actually something that I tried doing for a while. I tried to start a YouTube channel where I was sort of um, correcting information that you would hear or giving the academic consensus regarding certain topics and just insights from various doctrines and dogmas that you hear occasionally online. And while I like doing that, something quickly became apparent to me. My motivation for doing that initially was to combat the sort of apologetic answer for a lot of these questions. You could hear you could sort of tell that a lot of these answers that you hear online were coming from people who didn't really know. They were just parroting things that they had heard prior. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to give information from an academic standpoint. Now, in doing that, I realized that I am an apologist too. I'm sort of an apologist for academia, and I'm against apologetics in all forms and fashions. So I was like, I can't really do this without being a hypocrite. So kind of gave all that up. And again, it while it was fun to do, it wasn't really a passion of mine. I liked the research behind the videos that I was making more than the videos themselves. I didn't really like the editing or putting together or coming up with topics and all that stuff. So I decided to leave all that and focus on something that I really like doing, which is sticking to my academics, focusing on my research, and then just letting you guys know what it is that I'm doing, right? I don't have to edit anything. I'm just recording this on a Google Meet. Um, Whenever I finish recording, I'm gonna slap a thumbnail on it and I'm gonna upload it. There it is, peasy peasy. If people like it, they like it. If they don't, well, this is kind of for me anyways. Like I said, I hope that there are some that will come along and be like, what is it like to get a PhD in theology? What are some of the things you would have to do? I'm hoping to be that for them, right? I'm not looking to sway them either way or to, of course, I'm going to give some tips and tricks and maybe some help and insight along the way. But really, this is more of like I said, a vlog. This is almost like a video diary, if you will. I'm going to be doing a lot of things from now on, and I want to remember it. I want to be able to come back 10, 15, 20 years from now and be like, man, look at the things he used to think. Because I feel like that already. If I could go back to the beginning of my academic journey, and sometimes I do, I read some of the papers that I wrote back in the day, and I'm like, wow, how far I've come. So I can just imagine what I'll be in another 10 years. So that's where I'm at. That's who I am. And that's what I plan on doing with these. I can't take a whole lot of time on them because, as you'll see in a little bit, I am very, very busy now. But I'm hoping to be able to do weekly vlogs, 30, 45 minutes, call it a day, and continue the mission of doing all my reading and studies and things of that nature. But as for right now, there's a couple of things that have happened thus far that I wanted to share. I'm very, very new in my academic journey. As far as PhD, as I said, I have a couple of degrees in things already. But as far as the PhD goes, I actually start my seminars next week. My first class is on Tuesday. And already, even before class starts, all these things took place, which I didn't know. So it's something that I would like to share with you. Let's see, what could be the first thing? Move this over here. I guess the first thing would be my admissions process. Before anything else, no. You know what? Before I get into the admissions process, let me tell you why I wanted to do this. So let me put this down here. And I can share my screen and show you some pictures and kind of, is this the right one? Yes. Window. Show you some pictures of I went to what's called a preview day. Whenever I was deciding on an institution that offered a PhD that I was interested in, there was a few of them, but there was one that really, really stuck out. And I'll show you what it is and some of the pictures that I took while I was there. So this is from Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. This is the Riley Center. It's sort of like their hotel. It really is like a hotel. I showed up there and I was like, oh my goodness. I work in a seminary, but it's a very small seminary. We have a student population of about 200. And with that 200 population, we have about 4 rooms, three rooms. One of which is sort of a guest suite. When someone comes down and we have a guest speaker or things of that nature, someone's visiting, we allow them to stay in this guest suite. And there's just one. Well, Southwestern Seminary, they got a whole hotel, and it was just amazing to me. And this is the entrance of it. Can I go this way? Yeah. Just looking at some of the things, when you look up, you can see this stained glass. I thought it was so beautiful. The staircase going up to where our rooms are, and each one of those openings is another opening to another corridor with a whole bunch of rooms. I eventually found mine, and this is the first thing I saw. This is like I said, what was called preview day, where you go and you're sort of getting like a tour of the campus and deciding on whether or not this is where you want to go. What I thought was cool was the cookie. It was pretty good, and I thought it was very cool how it had its logo on there. This is preview day. This is when everybody showed up. Now this hall, the name of the hall is missing me, but the logo, it's actually the silhouette of this building. Again, I forgot what the name of this hall is, but if you look around, all these paintings are of the prior presidents of Southwestern. And if you look up, it's just a very cool place. Anyways, this is preview day, where a bunch of students or prospects are coming through to see if this is where they want to go. And this is where we all started out. This was my favorite part. I was most excited about this. This is a library at Southwestern, and eventually you'll see how much I love books. I really love books. So going to preview day, the thing I was looking forward to most was being able to enjoy and experience their library. Now, I was kind of disappointed because this guy was the tour guide, I guess you could say. And I don't know that anybody else was really interested in the library, because we went in there. He said, this is our library. We got 3 floors. We got all these books. And everybody was kind of like, yeah, okay. And since I guess he could tell that no one was interested, we were out of there in like 5 minutes. I was kind of disappointed. But I did get to see some things. You can see while everybody was over here talking and kind of just waiting to move on, I was taking pictures of everything they had. This is actually the 1611 King James second edition. I'm not going to get into editions or anything like that, but it was very cool to see. Again, taking pictures of the stacks. I love books. This was a big deal to me. And we moved over to the chapel, their chapel. Yeah, in the middle of their chapel, this is their old baptistry, and this is where they used to baptize people. And this is the auditorium of the chapel. They were telling us that when we graduate, this is the stage that we will cross. So it was pretty cool to see. Um, not entirely sure what this building was, but this is the Hall of Martyrs, I think they called it. And this is where we were going to have lunch to end off the day, or dinner. I guess it was pretty late. The reason I got this, number one, is because it's beautiful, but number two, I have a thing about chandeliers. I love chandeliers, and there was a few of them in there, and this one was really, really pretty. So this is us having dinner. We had a couple of people talking. This guy right here, he is the provost of Southwestern, and these are some other people telling us why we should be dispensationalists. That was pretty funny. But yeah, it's just real quick. I wanted to show it. I wanted to record it. I wanted to remember it. In case something ever happens with these pictures, I lose them or whatever, I always have this. So, okay, so it stopped sharing. Now, after preview day, let me move this back over here so I can see myself. After preview day, I started getting into it. I started to look at in the requirements of admissions. What is it going to take, right? How can I be admitted into Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary? I'm just going to call it Southwestern from now on. And I went to their website and I started the application process. I turned that in, and there was a few things they needed in order to accept me. Number one was I had to have a master's in ministry or a master's of divinity or something along those lines. I had not graduated with my MDiv yet. I just got my MDiv in May, and I think I was applying April. So I didn't have them yet, but I did tell them that I was going to graduate, and they were like, okay, send us your transcripts. I sent them my transcript from SWBTS, which is the institution where I'm getting my master's in Jewish studies. And the reason they need to see that is because I think you have to have a minimum of a 3.3 for them to even look at you. But they require, I mean, they would like, I think it says on the website, a 3.7. Cumulative GPA. I think I had something right about a 3.7. So I sent him my transcript from SWBTS. I sent him my unofficial transcript from Stark, where I got my MDiv, and that allowed them to see that, okay, he is about to graduate. He can start looking into doctoral programs. In addition to that, I had to submit a writing sample. Now, this writing sample had to be like 20 pages or something, and I hadn't written that much in a very long time. So what I did was I got a paper that I wrote for SWBTS, comparing Rabbi Akiva and the Apostle Paul, and how Rabbi Akiva was almost sort of a rabbinic response to the Christian Paul. And just kind of show you real quick. Do I have it? Is this one here? Yeah, this is it. So I can share that. Let me share this real quick. Re-examine of influence. Share. Move this over so I can see. Make this big. So yeah, I did a re-examination of influence. Rabbi Akiva, Paul, and the shaping of rabbinic Judaism in response to Christianity. And it's about 24 pages. And it's something I want to develop further in the future. But for right now, I just went into a couple of liturgical processes that there's many similarities between Christianity and Judaism: the Passover, the Last Supper, the Eucharist, the Afikoman. There's all kinds of things that really parallel. And as I get into my doctoral work, that's something that I hope to explore later in the future. But for right now, that this is part of the admittance process as well, just to provide a writing sample so that they know how to write in some sense. So stop presenting. Now, after that is what's required is, oh man, where'd I go? After that, what's required is to pass the GRE. Now, I remember when my wife was starting on her doctoral process, she wanted to, she was deciding on whether she should get a PhD or a EDD, a doctorate in educational leadership. And while she was looking into it, the first thing that she saw was the GRE, and she started studying for it. But it didn't really jive with the way her brain worked. It's just very different. It's very different. And what's funny about it is it's like me and her are kind of opposites when it comes to the way you think. And this is something one should consider when deciding between a practitioner's degree in theology, would be a doctor's of ministry, or a researcher's degree, which would be a doctor in philosophy. For my wife, she was perfect for the practitioner's degree of a doctorate in educational leadership, because her mind is very everything she reads and everything she learns, she remembers, right? So all the maths and things of that nature, like she can recall all that. Whenever I was starting out on my educational journey, she actually helped me to finish calculus 1 and 2, because I am horrible at math. And so I thought it was really funny. But when it comes to the GRE, that the math, all that stuff, that's like a smaller portion of it. They want to be able to see if you can sort of think outside the box and develop arguments and things of that nature. So I found that to be interesting. But what they give you, for those of you that are considering a PhD in anything, you'll have to do this for any PhD, not just theology. You got to study this. This is the official guide to the GRE. Oh my gosh, this is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. Number one, because I hadn't done any kind of mathematics, or there was a couple of other things. So it has math in a number of different ways: algebra, word problems, equations, formulas, money, all kinds of stuff. And it was very, very hard for me. I knew that I needed to get a certain score, which I think is about a 145, if I'm remembering correctly. I was like, I just got to pass this part. There's 3 parts of the GRE test. There's the mathematics. I wonder, let me get you the actual terms. Just table of contents. Yes. Sorry. I guess I should have this done a little bit better. So the official. Okay, so there's analytical writing, there's verbal reasoning, and there's quantitative reasoning, which is all the math stuff. So quantitative reasoning. Now, the way it used to be, from what I saw, was there was like 5 parts of a GRE. Whenever I took it, they sort of pushed a few together, and it was 3 parts. You had to do the quantitative, which is the math, and the analytical reading and writing. Now, one thing I would recommend in this is get you some of these. There, you'll be able to scan on the front some examples of arguments that they'll ask. They'll ask you to look at and then solve. Not really solve, but give your position. What do you think? Where are the holes? Where's the shortcomings? How would you answer it? And they give you all kinds of examples of possible questions. So what I did was, this is the analyzing the issue. What I did was I went to their website and I printed out every possible question that they could have. They don't have any answers. There are no answers, right? It's you. But I wanted to be prepared for what they could possibly ask. So I printed all these out, and I developed sort of mini arguments for as many as I could. There's a lot of them. But I read through a lot of them, and a lot of them are duplicates, just reworded. So I would recommend you do that as well whenever you're going through for the GRE. In order to prep for that, go download the samples, so that way you know what they could possibly ask. Also, brush up on your vocabulary. They ask you a bunch of, or they don't ask. While you're reading, they throw a lot of big words out to see if you can parse them and sort of define them on the fly. Not give a proper Merriam-Webster's definition, but can you parse these words and sort of understand it based on the context, the way the word is structured, and everything that's going on. Just wants to see how analytical your mind is. So the GRE, this was, like I said, this was super hard and it's super expensive. I think the test was like $200 or something like that. So it's for those who are really serious about doing this. I was so nervous. I stayed up for days on end studying for this, asking my wife for help with the math portions, getting the arguments down, trying to understand logical fallacies, which I already had a background in, but not at this level. And it took some time up until the day. So I think I went to go take the GRE test at about 1 o'clock in close to where I live, and it took about an hour to get there. So I was studying all morning to a couple of hours before. Then I got there a little bit early, ran through it again, and went in there and I tried my best. And this was like, oh my gosh, I think I took this test with 2 weeks of preparation, maybe even a week. I'm not entirely sure, but it was very, very, very short notice. But thankfully, I passed. You do have some opportunities to make it up. I think you're allowed like one retake before you gotta pay again. I'm not sure. Like I said, thankfully, I passed the first time. So that was the GRE, the writing sample. Oh, another thing that Southwestern required was an entrance exam. Now, their entrance exam consisted of all it says on the study guide. And I had asked them many times, can I get more information in regards of what I need to study in order to pass the entrance exam? And they would tell me the same thing all the time, just you have what you need. And what I had was a list of 3 books. They had 3 books and they said, read that, know that, and that has all the information on how to pass the test. That's where all the questions are coming from. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if you ever had those tests where they don't tell you what's going to be on the exam. They just say study the whole thing. And from that, we'll pick so-and-so, right? I'm okay with that. Out of 50 questions, we'll ask you 15. So you study the 50 to get the 15. But I had the whole book. They said study the whole book. So I don't even know if I can pull up my logos to show you. Let me see. I don't know if I can pull it up to show you. Let me try it real quick. Documents. Early Christian documents. This is one of them. So I had to read 3 books, and this is one of them. Let me move this over here just so I can show you. Share my screen. Window. Oh, so it's the entire screen. Let's just do this one. Share. Okay, so this is when I had to read this book, Early Christian Doctrines. Now, reading through the book, I took notes on everything because I didn't know what they were going to ask. So I was sure to read this thoroughly and take as many notes as possible. And these are all my highlights from the book. Let me see if I can open the book. Will it open it? Yeah, see, this is the book, Early Christian Doctrines, and by J.N.D. Kelly. And I had to go through. And as I'm going through, let me get past all this, table of contents, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, that's not going too slow. Let me speed it up. As I'm going through, I'm just highlighting. I'm highlighting and I'm annotating things that I think might be important, color coding to, kind of tell me where certain things are, if I need to go back and look at it when I'm studying. I had to do this for 3 books. Stop sharing. I had to do that for 3 books. The same thing, again, with not a whole lot of prep time. I think I read all 3 books in about 2 weeks and annotated them like that, all in preparation for this exam that I didn't know what would be on it. They just said, study these books. So now comes time for the entrance exam. And it was proctored. I got to do it at the seminary where I work. And I was ready for anything, right? I was ready for anything. I took it in the library and I was like, I think I'm good with this. I think I'm good. The test to get into Southwestern was from those books, but it was, I think it was 3 questions. And you can tell each question was from each book, one from each book. Now, the question isn't like who did what at this time. It was, I think one of the books was how to do history or historical theology or something like that. But in there, it asks about logical fallacies. What are some things not to do when doing history? And at the time, I'm thinking back, I kind of forgot a lot of this stuff, but thinking back, um, it was a lot of logical fallacies and how to identify them. What are some certain things you're not supposed to do when doing history? I answered that one, and one from that J&D Kelly book. Um, and it was surprisingly easy. I was so worried about what could possibly be on the test that I overstudied. I think I even have, did I make notes on this too? I had made notes on everything. Like these are printouts for common fallacies, and how to identify them. I did the most. I did the most to get in. But after the writing sample, after the GRE, after the admission or the entrance exam, I finally get a letter about 2 or 3 weeks later saying that I had been accepted into Southwestern's early church studies and historical theology Ph.D. program. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I made it, right? I had done so much work up until that point. And honestly, it was one of the hardest things I've had to do in my academic career thus far. It was crazy. But then I actually started on the program. I met with my supervisor, and I'm taking his seminar on the theology of Martin Luther, and I'm also taking another seminar on the doctrine of the Trinity. And I don't know if I have my syllabi, but I can just tell you, I don't need to really show you. What is different between these courses and anything else initially, just by looking at the syllabus, is the reading. Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to read for each class at least 2 books a week. Maybe not specifically a book or a monograph, but enough journal articles that would constitute the length of another book. And it's a lot. It's a lot. One main thing that is a little bit different. Should I get into that now? We'll get there. We'll get there. Those are just the classes that I'm taking for now. And that's the first thing I noticed was all these books. So I got as many books as possible right away. And I kind of started looking into some things. I noticed that for my first, for the Trinity seminar, there's already a book report due by the first day of class. And that first day of class is on the 24th. So on 21st. So I had to make sure to get all that ready. Now, I want to kind of go into the second set of pictures because in these pictures, there's something that is important that I really want to talk about. So the RDS orientation, start this up, make this big, share the screen, window, and here we are. Share. So this is my second time back in Southwestern, and this is not for preview day. This is for RDS orientation, which is RDS research degree. No, that can't be it. Basically, it's for students who are getting a PhD, a research orientation. And I took some pictures because I thought the campus was beautiful and I wanted to remember it. Anyways, this is the hall where we met up, Caldwell Hall, and no, Cowden Hall, and it's sort of the music department, and it's very intimidating. If I was a music student here, I'd be a little intimidated. We started off all of our days with worship. You know, you worship God first thing, and we sing songs in their auditorium. Now, what was intimidating, and I'm not even a music student, had I been, I would have been more intimidated, but some of the songs we're singing are in our hymnals, and those songs were written by students who once were in this building who wrote these songs. And it's like, man, you know what I mean? Leaving a lasting legacy. For me, like I said, that was a big deal. Going on is just going up the stairs. The School of Sacred Music, that's what they called it. We met up in right here in this middle. I didn't really get it, but we're in there, and the auditorium is in the back. Again, we're passing by the library, and I made a promise to the library this time that I would spend a lot more time in it, and I did, but we'll get to there later. This is that chapel. This is Matt Gorman Chapel, where they had the baptistry, I think was in there, and it's just beautiful. I thought it was a really nice picture. And this is where I spent most of my time. This is back in the Riley Center. Like I said, it's like a real hotel, and it has all these rooms where we have conferences, or where you can have conferences. And in this room specifically was the breakout for my particular discipline, which is theology, in the School of Theology. So I spent all my time in this seat all day long because there was various seminars, but most of them for me were in this room. and these are a lot of other first years. I wonder if I can. Is it, oh, this guy right here. I didn't even realize he's one of the very interesting guy that I met later. Number one, oh my gosh, I got to tell you. So it is a very. This was a very humbling experience. There are some very smart people there. I met two doctors while I was there. One of them was a hand surgeon. He's a hand surgeon, and he is actually a professor at Baylor. So he's already a doctor. In addition to being a professor and a medical doctor, he's getting a doctorate in, I think it was theology too, because I think we're in some of the same, we're at least in the same Luther seminar. And another doctor was this guy right here. He's an ER doctor, and his specialty or his concentration is in New Testament studies. And I knew right away because when we were in the library, um, he had a Greek New Testament that he was reading through. And if you know those that are New Testament scholars, like you gotta be well acquainted with Greek. So I knew something was up when I saw him just holding that. Anyways, he was a really a cool guy. He helped me develop one of my thoughts further on something that I want to look forward, something that I want to explore later on. This girl up here, I heard, so I was eavesdropping and I heard some other people talking. They were like, so how many languages do you know? And she was like, well, I know Hebrew, I know Greek, I know Latin, I know German. I think she knows Korean. Like it's just a lot. And I'm like, oh my God, these are some geniuses over here, you know? So yeah, very humbling experience. This is something that I'm gonna have to come back to a little later on, but it's something that I wanted to show some of my friends. Um, I had made a video on YouTube a while ago saying how there are levels to this. And I think this is called Bloom's taxonomy. I actually used it in my video to show that even in academic degrees, it's not just the classes. Like the more classes you take, the higher your degree. Up to a certain point, I guess you can say that, but at the doctoral level, it's way different. So as an undergrad, you're usually at this remember, understand sort of stage in your academic career. Once you get to your master's, you're more in apply and analyze. The way I always said it was, as a bachelor student, you are taught to ingest information and regurgitate. Ingest and regurgitate. You're doing just a bunch of book reports, and you're not really asked to think thoroughly through some of the things you're reading. At the master's level, you're taught to start applying it. You can start to see some of the differences in some of the books you read, and you can start to analyze it a little bit more. Um, but at the doctoral level, you're not just understanding, regurgitating, analyzing, or evaluating. You're starting to create. You are entering the conversation in whatever discipline you are a part of, and you're contributing to the field. So that's why I thought this was different. And it says specifically, how is doctoral writing different from master's level writing? Again, masters, you are expected to, like, say a book. You're expected to read a book, not only regurgitate is such a weird word, but not only to synthesize and say back what it is you read, but also analyze it, find the shortcomings, and be able to apply what it is you know, right? Well, at the doctoral level, you're expected to contribute or to be part of the conversation, and not just one book, the whole field, the whole field. Um, it's again, intimidating is the best word I can use to describe it. So you want to be able to take all these positions from all the scholars in your field, um, synthesize all the arguments, know everybody's position, and then eventually be able to contribute to the conversation of whatever your discipline is. I want to come back to this because it means a lot. Taught me a lot. This is where we have our this is where we had our lunch, and we had dinner too. It was pretty good spread. Um, and this I thought was very, 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 very interesting. Should I go ahead and show this first? So I will. I will. Let me stop this, and I'm gonna show something. I'm gonna show something else. Share. Got so for my Trinity seminar, we are reading God the Trinity by Dr. Malcolm Yarnell. While I'm reading it, if you remember how I did my notes with whenever I needed to get in, how do I say this, for my entrance exam, I was reading and taking notes. And what I was doing was highlighting and just annotating, highlighting and annotating. So a bunch of quotes if I needed to remember. So that's kind of what I was doing here. I had some people that I know that this is the way they took notes, and I liked it. I liked to be able to see all the quotes that one was pulling from the book. And so that's kind of what I was doing. I was putting a bunch of quotes. I put the page. I put the footnotes that explains it, and I was actually taking notes at the bottom, adding my little, just a little something in there. And I thought I did good. I had like, what is there, like 59 total slides throughout the entirety of the book, right? And I was like, man, I take such good notes. That's awesome. I'm ready for doctoral work, blah, blah, blah. I was in for a rude awakening. So let me stop sharing this and go back to this picture. Window, this one, share. All right, so going back to this, the reason I'm showing this is because there's a panel up there. This is the Dr. Williams. He was the RDS supervisor. He was like the one that put all this together. And I think both of these people are either doctors in literature or research or something like that, because this was all about how to research and how to write at a doctoral level. Now, I want to show you something. If I can zoom into this, let me see if it does it. So incorporating multiple sources, they were giving us an example on what not to do. And I found this interesting. The way they wrote was quote, footnote, quote, footnote, quote, footnote, quote, footnote. And it was one big paragraph with all these footnotes. I used to write like this. As an undergraduate, I was like, man, look how well sourced my argumentation is. I was writing like this, and it was wrong. It was completely wrong. They said, and I think it was, I don't know, it was either his words or his words, but one of them said that listing a bunch of quotes is not academic work. It's a phone book. There is no original idea in this. It's just a bunch of quotes that does nothing. So they said, don't do it like this. And they give some more examples. And like I said, the reason I just wanted to show it was because this is what I used to do. And I was shown what to do better. So whenever I was taking my notes for that Trinity book, that's what I was preparing for. I was just getting a whole bunch of quotes without really synthesizing or internalizing what it is I was reading. I was just in preparation to continue to do what I had already been doing, which was doing academics at the master's level. But I'm not a master's student anymore. I'm a doctoral student. So things are different. There's a new level. The other lady, can I go back? Oh yeah, that is that same lady. Okay, so she actually said, you have jumped into a new population. As a doctoral student, we have to read, write, and act different. Everything is different. That's one of my main takeaways from this whole RDS orientation is things are now different. So for those of you that are going to that next level, be prepared. It's another change. You are among a rare breed of individuals. Not everybody gets to this level, and they let you know that, and they expect more of you. So what else? Oh, okay. So the library. Back to the library. You get to go in here. I'm super excited because I can spend a little bit of time in here now, and I'm going through everything. I get to see their mini museum of Southwestern collectible stuff that they have, and I thought this was pretty cool. It was an old Hebrew typewriter. And what was this called? This is the Celia of Hammurabi. If you look close, well, you can kind of see it on the side, but this is cuneiform all down the side. That was very cool. And then this is the Devon Sealy. You can see the old Paleo Hebrew script on here. Very cool. And then the stacks. I love books, so I got to show all that. This was another time he was the coordinator, the library coordinator. Like he's sort of running all this, and this is sort of like his second in command. And they're showing us resources that we have available to us as doctoral students. And this part really solidified a thought that I had. Um, I was oftentimes short-tempered with, as I was telling you about earlier, those apologists that, that you can tell they're just sort of parroting information that they heard at one point in time. I used to be short-tempered with them, and I used to critique them unfairly. And why do I say unfairly? Specifically, what they were telling us at this part of the orientation was that as doctoral students, we should not be Googling anything. The internet is like this cesspool of information where you don't even know if what you're reading is right or not. Uh, there's some people that say, well, what about the scholars that are on the internet? They post their information. They actually gave that as an example. Uh, there's some blogs that I follow from some scholars who I would depend on at times. And they said, even if you find a blog by one of your favorite scholars, they use this as an example, you don't know if what that scholar said is correct or not. It could be some wild thoughts from this guy at 3 in the morning, and they just decided to blog about it. So even though you get information from a scholar, if it comes from the internet that just everybody has access to, you don't know if it's right or not. It hasn't been vetted. So it's not until you read it in a monograph or from an academic publisher or from an academic journal that has that's been vetted and as I said, peer reviewed. You don't know if the information is accurate. So they were giving us all these avenues of information that we have available to us now. They were showing us EBSCO, all these journals that they have. Oh my God, they have so many journals that we now have access to. Their library, all this stuff. They have an archive more over here. Like if I could spin this picture, they have archives that are only available to them here, right? You actually have to go in there to see this stuff. And I started thinking, I was like, man, it's not fair to critique people for not having the information when they don't even know the information that's out there. How could they? Up until I was sitting here listening to these guys, I thought I knew how to get all the information that was available to me. I'm not going to say it was the tip of the iceberg, but there's still more levels to the iceberg to get information, and they were letting me know this. There's so many more avenues that the general public doesn't even they're not even aware exists. And even if they are aware that it exists, they don't have access to it because they are not part of the academic world like that. You got to have um, clearance, I guess would be the best word to use. I'm backed by Southwestern. I have access to this stuff now, but the general public doesn't. You know what I mean? So it's unfair to ask them to be able to have information at the level in which I have information when they don't have access to it. So I started to sympathize a little more for all those people that think they know certain things when they really don't. It's not their fault. How could they know? I didn't know, and I'm part of the academic world, so how much more for them? So moving on. This is towards the end of the day, and they said you can have dessert with your supervisor, which they provided a bunch of cookies and stuff. If you can make it over, you can talk to your supervisor. Now, I knew I wasn't going to be able to talk to my supervisor for a long time, so he said he would be at the desserts. If I can make it over there, I could talk to him. So I ran all the way across campus trying to get over here to Scarborough Hall, and I think the meeting was up in this room over here. Running, and I found it. This is Scarborough Hall. This is where I'm doing most of my work, so I took a selfie in front of it. This is that main building, how I showed you earlier when I was there for RDS, for preview day with the pictures of all the past presidents. This is the outside of it. I thought this was a cool picture, so I took one more of it, and the final selfie of my time there. Now that I'm done with this, I'm gonna go back and show some things. Let me go back and show some things. Does it come from here? Yes, it does. So share this. Share that whole window. All right. So like I said, these are the notes that I took before orientation, and I thought I was doing good. I read the book, read it in a few days, took all these notes. It looks cool, all this stuff. But then I went up and I met with my supervisor, and this is again where things changed. I was asking him, he specifically says on his syllabus, I guess I didn't bring him up, but it doesn't matter. It specifically says on his syllabus what he expects of us. And he expects us to read every single word from every book that he assigns to us. In addition to those books, there's also a bunch of supplemental readings or suggested readings. I don't want to just survive in my PhD program. I really want to excel. I want to add to my field in a very meaningful way. And in order to do that, you got to go above and beyond. So I was like, I don't understand how this would be possible, reading all these books, every word on the page, and where are you going to find the time to do that, right? So I asked him, I was like, how can you expect us to read all these and read it thoroughly? The reason I say read it and read it thoroughly is there's a technique that academics use. It's kind of called, it's not speed reading, because speed reading is just getting through it, but there is academic reading. And my wife is a pro at it. I saw her doing it all during her doctoral program, in which she knows where to look in the book to get the general information, and then she can move on to the next book. She gathers just enough to participate in conversations, but then she gets rid of it. And there's two things that I find to be an issue with that. I always have this anxiety that, like, while I may remember a certain quote used in a book, if I were to chase that footnote, I feel that if I didn't chase that footnote, I would quote something from a book. Someone else would go and look up that footnote and be like, did you read the entirety of that footnote? While that small section does say this, the greater argument completely undermines that specific quote. And it's a fear of mine. So while I'm reading, I check out every footnote. That's why I think endnotes are of the devil. You have to go all the way back to the book, all the way to the back of the book to find out what the footnote is. I like it just down there at the bottom so you can go check. That's why whenever I was taking notes for this Trinity book, isn't it good? I would write what was said, and then I would also annotate the footnote, because to me, that's super important. So checking the footnote, reading the book, annotating, where do you find the time to do this? I can't do academic reading and just do like my wife and boom, 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 knock it out. My professor was like, you know what? I'm also not a fast reader. I got to take my time. I sometimes read the book a couple of times over, but that is the standard. And you can tell my supervisor, he's like a professional academic. Like, this is what he does. I was watching recently on Netflix Quarterbacks, right? And it shows you the level of difference between normal guys and these professionals. And I always think of a good comparison is like Johnny Manziel and Patrick Mahomes. Now, why do I say that? Johnny Manziel it's well known. He's let it be known on a couple of different podcasts and whatnot that his talent got him to where he was. He dominated in high school. He dominated in college, all based on talent. And it was good enough. But talent isn't enough. It's good enough, but it isn't enough. Once he got to the NFL, you have to do more than that. You got to put in the extra work. You got to watch film. You got to study. You got to do all that extra, which Johnny Manziel didn't want to do. He just wanted to be a quarterback and party. So he quickly fizzled out of the NFL. But then there's quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes and, Joe Burrow and everybody else in the NFL right now who not only do they go to practice, but they do their own off-site practice with their own physical therapist. They're studying film all the time. I think it was Jared Goff that was sort of practicing play calls with his wife or his girlfriend. I don't know what she is, fiance. I don't know. All the time. This is their life. The off season, there's no off for them. You know what I mean? They're still practicing. That's like their life. This is what they do. And it takes that in order to be at that level. And it felt like I am at that level for academics. It's going to take more than just doing the bare minimum. Up until this point, I can be honest, I relied a lot on my talent. I wasn't the best student. I could do a lot better. I know I could, but it's helped me along this far. I Johnny Manziel'd it this far, right? But I have to go more, or I have to go above and beyond now, and I have to do more. And that's where I'm at. And he's telling me, you got to take better notes and you got to do this. And one of the last takeaways I had from this whole session was what he was saying in regards to where we're at. Now, mind you, we're all PhD students, doctoral students at a pretty good seminary, right? Southwestern it's known. So we are one of the top tier students. And as top tier students, he made sure to let us know, for the next 3 years, you don't read a book to find out where to critique it. You don't know enough. You don't know enough. You got to understand, this is what he's telling us. You got to understand that the author you're reading, his material has already been vetted by the editors, peer-reviewed colleagues have read over their articles before they've been published. Everybody's looked at this. The author has read every piece of literature regarding this subject and still holds the position that they have, whether you agree with it or not. So before you disagree, you got to understand that they know way more than you do. So in so many words, he says, don't worry about critiquing right now. You don't know enough. Sit down, be quiet, and just try to understand what it is the author's saying. It hit me really hard because prior to going up for this orientation, I had a conversation with one of my professors at the seminary that I work, and I was talking to him about something in regards to this God the Trinity book, and how I was like, I don't know how the author got that. Like, I don't know, that seems a little sketch to me. And my professor, they're very gracious. My seminary that I work at, it's really geared towards pastors. So everybody who works there really has a pastor's heart. And he was being very, very kind with me and very gracious and very patient. And he was like, maybe don't critique so much. Just don't go in guns blazing. Just relax a little bit, right? That's what he said. But then I get to Southwestern and my supervisor is, in so many words, saying you don't know enough. You don't know enough. You just sit down, you read, and you do your best to internalize what it is the author is saying. That's what you're going to do for the next 3 years. Internalize what all these authors are saying. And then after that, maybe you'll have enough knowledge to be able to add to the conversation. But right now, you don't. And that's what comps are when it comes to the end of all these seminars. After I take 3 years worth of seminars at the PhD level, they give you the comprehensive exam in which you articulate everything that you've learned from all these books and you synthesize it. You're able to teach it, and then they sort of want to know that you're knowledgeable in all these areas, and they know you know how to do research and how to be an analytical reader and writer, so that way they can sort of free you. After you take your comps, you're free to do your dissertation work and do your own, not unsupervised, but there's no more seminars. You're free to do your own work. So first, you got to learn how to read, you got to learn how to synthesize, and you got to learn how to accurately understand what it is the author's saying. And so you can see the difference now after hearing that and understanding that, you know what, I don't know anything. I don't know anything. I need to sit down, be quiet, and learn. And so then I start reading for his course, and my notes are so different. Let's see if this is working out. So one thing that I do now, instead of just writing down all these quotes, I ask a few questions. The thesis and central question, what main historical, and this is all geared towards history books because I'm in historical theology and church history. What main historical change, trend, or argument is being advanced or asked? And I gave an example, and there's other things: the scope, the structure, the time period, geography, the method. Why can't I say this word? Methodology. and the sources used, the arguments, the evidence. There's some questions now that I look for instead of just taking a bunch of notes. So whenever I'm doing my note taking here, I write it down. This book interprets the intellectual and religious history of 1250 to 1550, arguing that the Reformation emerged from the interplay between everyday social realities and the idea of influential individuals and movements. And I synthesized all these, the main points, not yet with the historiography and counterarguments because I'm not done with the book, but I'm adding a few at a time. Now, I still add my notes, chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, but now I'm doing it to where I'll gather all my notes and then I'll do a brief summary. And this is what's important because whenever I have my first class, stay in the call. Whenever I have my first class or my first seminar on Tuesday, actually, we're going to have a big discussion. And they're going to want to know, did you internalize what the book says? Do you know what it says? And can you discuss it with other people who are also at this level? And I think the professor is also going to be there too and sort of giving his input. But I couldn't just go in there with a bunch of quotes. Well, did you know on page 137, so-and-so says this at this time? Like nobody cares about that right now. Like everybody can read, but can you internalize what you read and can you accurately represent it? You don't want to draw a straw man. You want to really steel man their arguments and interact with what it is they're saying. And so that's why I have all these summaries and asking these questions. So I can actually give, even before I finish this book, I can tell you exactly what the book's about, how he did it, what drove him to write this book in the way that he did. Before I even finished it, I know all this now. And like I said, the chapters just break it down. This is exactly what chapter 1 was, chapter 2. And it's so different, but it's so interesting. And now I get so much more out of it. I remember all this, and I'm going to do this with every book because again, for comps, I'm going to need all this information. So I want to be as detailed as possible, even if it takes extra time. And that's another big thing that I guess we should talk about is time. I'm almost done with this, I promise. Time. So I am a big reader. I love reading. It's one of my favorite things to do. If you look, I don't know if I can do this, but well, also the blurs on or whatever, but I'm in my office right now with a library of books. I think I have about 400 or 500 physical books. I got about another 10,000 digital books. Like I love reading and I would move through them. Right. I kind of, even though I checked all the footnotes, I would pride myself on the fact that I can read a 200-page book in a day. Most books are about 250. So maybe about a day and a half, 2 days, I could go through a book. And I used to pride myself on that. This is different. At the doctoral level, be prepared for this. I was actually so discouraged because I thought I was doing something wrong or I just wasn't up to par with my peers, which I don't even know yet, but kind of doing some research, I figured out that I'm not far behind. I'm not even behind. I just thought I was because I figured being that I'm at the doctoral level, I would read maybe 50 pages an hour while taking notes, right? 50 pages an hour. And today's Sunday. On Friday, I sat. This is what I got before that. This is how I got that 50 pages. When I read that Trinity book, that's what I did. 50 pages an hour with those notes. And that's because I'm sending my friends some funny notes that I see and they're just quotes. And I'm like, man, look at this. Can you believe that? And so about 40 to 50 pages an hour with those notes and sending them to my friends. After going to RDS, the orientation, and finding out that I got to be better at taking notes and I'm at a different level, all that stuff, I'm starting to read and take notes differently. Not only that, but the books that are assigned are at a whole new level. Not only is it very, very dense, but the way I am taking notes just requires more time. I need more time to not only read it, but internalize it, synthesize it, and be able to give it back to you. And that's what my notes are. And because of that, my reading time, the pages read per hour, cut in half. Before I started reading, I was trying to do the logistics. If I got 500 pages and I got to read that in a week, and every week is about 600 pages just for what's required, how many hours will it take if I'm reading 40 to 50 pages an hour? I can do so I'm trying to add all this up, right? And I have my plan. And I plan on Friday, that's going to be my kickoff day. And I'm going to read my 50 pages an hour. I'm there all by myself. Sabbath starts at 7. I can do all this. I'll be good. Then I start reading. And the book is so dense. All this material is new. I have to internalize something that's very hard to already understand. And then I got to be able to synthesize and, like I said, present it. It cut my pages read per hour in half. By the second hour, I knew I'm not reading 40 or 50 pages an hour. I'm doing 20, maybe 25. I can't skim through it doing my academic reading the first and last sentence of a paragraph, introduction and conclusion, and saying, yeah, I got it. I got to read every word. I don't want to Johnny Manziel this, right? I want to be Patrick Mahomes. I got to do the work. And in order to do that, there is no easy way. I've been waking up every day at 4:30, getting my coffee, getting in here and reading all day. And it's rough. And sometimes I'm like, man, what did I get myself into? But I do know this will get a little easier as time goes on, and I'll figure out bigger or better methods and whatnot. But yeah, right now it is a little rough. It's a little rough, but like I said, I do understand more. I am getting through more, getting better at understanding what I'm reading, and I know things will get better. I know things will get better, but as of right now, yeah, that's where I'm at. That's my first week. Oh, and mind you, classes haven't even started. They haven't even started, and I'm having to do this already. Just that's another big thing. The difference between even master's and doctoral work. I didn't have to read in my master's degrees. I didn't have to read anything till after the first week of class. They would tell us, all right, that was your introductory first day of class. Now for next week, make sure to have this read. Now for doctoral work, I already got to have all this stuff read. Assignments are already due the day before class starts. It's different. Doctoral work is a different level. And I do want to end off with one thing before I get out of here. And it is this. So let me see. Let me close this. Where are the pics? If you know what this is, can't make this big. Window. If you know what this is, clap your hands. This is what's called the Dunning-Kruger effect. And the reason I'm bringing this up is just to let you know what to expect. This describes me and a whole bunch of people I know to a T. When I first started on my theological education, coming in as an undergrad, I thought I knew everything. I was up here. I felt so confident. I felt that I was going to go into Bible college and correct the professors. I already knew everything, and I'm just there to share my knowledge with the world. A lot of people that I knew and hung out with at the time, they were all right here. Some of which were also getting a theological education, most of which weren't, but we all knew everything. Then it happened at about my second master's degree when I'm getting my MDiv. And also my master's in Jewish studies. That's really what brought it about, was my master's in Jewish studies. I started to realize that, no, man, this is a little more complicated than I thought. What I thought I knew, I may not know. And I started rolling down the hill. I started to acknowledge that I didn't know that much. Now, what's interesting is a lot of the people I knew, they stayed here and are still here. It's very interesting to see. But I started questioning whether I actually knew enough. I started to realize I didn't. And towards the end of my MDiv, I was right here, Insecure Canyon. I felt so, I just felt some type of way that all this learning was for what? I'm doing all this learning and I don't know anything. I'm starting to realize that I know even less than I did when I started, because I had this false sense of confidence up in this area over here. But now I'm down here and I'm like, geez, I don't know much. After my MDiv and after I actually got into a PhD program and after talking to my supervisors and other things like that, I'm starting to get here. This is where I am right now. I realize that knowing how little you know is the first step to becoming someone who actually knows stuff. I know that I don't know. Like when my supervisor told me, you don't know enough to have an opinion, 2 weeks ago, I was about right here. Maybe on the other side because I had more confidence. After him telling me you don't know enough, sit down and learn, I feel like I'm about right here. Now I feel that I'm in this program for a reason. I understand what I'm doing. These super dense books that even though it's taking me a long time to read, I understand it. I can synthesize it. I can tell you the main point. I'm doing what I need to do, and I'm going up the mountain. I'm getting to a point where I'm actually having a full comprehensive scope of what it is I'm learning about and what it is I'm doing, which is another reason why I no longer want to engage or interact with those that are of that apologetics persuasion. I don't want to be a part of it because there's so much more to it. Whenever you think something is clear, it's not clear. It's not clear at all. Matter of fact, that's sort of like a red flag to me when talking to somebody. If they tell me, well, it's clear that if you, or it's clear if you read the Bible this, or the church always held this position because it's clear that this. No, it's not. No, it's not. There's so much nuance that if I hear anybody say it's clear, I do not take them seriously because after studying for about, I would say 8, 7, we'll go 7, lucky number 7, studying about 7 years now in theology. One thing I do know for sure is that nothing is clear when it comes to theology. Nothing. There are multiple interpretations, multiple views, multiple ways to look at things, and nuance for how to look at things. That there's reasons that things came about, and oftentimes it's anything but clear. So I was going to get into some examples of that, but I don't really need to. I just want to say that for, I know this was super long, but if you stuck through it this long, I'm pretty sure you're looking for some insight on what it means to be a PhD student and what to expect whenever you're going for a PhD. And like I said, that's what I'm trying to do here. And it's not just PhD. Like I'm also doing other stuff. As I mentioned, I'm working in a seminary. I'm a registrar, so I may share some stuff with what happens at work or in the biblical education realm. And in addition to that, I got put in the position at work to be in charge of Christian education, which means I'm having to put together curriculum for how they are learning things, biblical studies. I think that we have a problem with biblical literacy in the church, and I want to combat that by actually teaching them things. And I'll probably get into that more in a later vlog, but for right now, yeah, I just wanted to share that. This one was going to be longer than most because I had a whole bunch of things happen that I had to put all into one vlog. And now from here on out, I'll probably do weekly updates and they should be a whole lot shorter. So yeah, if there's any questions in regards to anything, you can feel free to reach out to me or email me. I will have my email in the description. Shoot me an email. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, we can talk about it. We can talk about it. Um, I am trying to provide to others what I wish someone could have provided to me, which is just insight and someone to talk to about some of the crazier things in the Bible that people often shy away from giving answers to. And not definitive, this is how it is answers, because you can get that from anybody on YouTube or Google. But no, really gather the nuance and the intricacies and the complexities of all these subjects and really wrestle with some of the finer points of theology. So yeah, until next week, I thank you for joining me on this journey. This is very, very meaningful to me, which is why I'm actually taking the time. I got to go finish reading more stuff. I have a whole lot of stuff to read, but I want to take this time every week to be able to contribute to this a little bit, not only for me, but for others like me. And I just hope it does something for you. So if it does, feel free to, like, I doubt anybody's going to share this type of stuff, but if there's someone that you know that may be going through this, share this stuff with them, subscribe, and yeah, like I said, shoot me an email. We can talk about it. So yeah, next time, I'll see you. Shalom.